when it comes to the prophetic, we're talking the whole time about submission to authority, because that is our protection. It's not a control thing.
Good.
And there's times where you have a word and you feel that because of what's involved in the word, you submit it to someone, expecting them to say, go for it. And they go, I think you should wait. I've had this with you. Is there any time that you should not submit to that authority if they say, no or not yet?
The short answer is no. But let me amplify that. What brought you into that fellowship in the first place? What brought you there was a recognition that this leader or the pastor and his team and the overall DNA of that local church was biblical, was honoring God, was honoring the Lord, and you wanted to be part of it.
Yep.
So what's changed?
Wow.
So
your will was crossed.
Now look at that. You nailed it in one go.
Okay.
God was always working on us. He's working on our character.
Wow.
Look, how can he ever bring us forth in the image of Jesus unless areas that he knows need to be confronted are confronted?
And you've done this with me, and I am so grateful. I truly am. I realized God was doing something deeper in me. And I've also realized it didn't mean I didn't hear from God. It's just that God's just so masterful in getting my attention on things that he needs to shift and change. And you've been really instrumental in that at times.
Thank you. I would go as far as to say this. God will actually give somebody a word out of season, out of sync, in order to have them sit on it. Because the restraint and the honoring of leadership is his objective. And so the person themselves doesn't have to be out of sync or not hearing from God, because that's not the issue. The issue is the development of their character. And maybe 3 weeks later or 6 months later, when the prophetic individual has submitted that, has worked through, come into a beautiful spirit, that pastor might come back to him one day and say, you know that word you had 6 months ago? I think it'd be a great time right now for you to bring that. It might not happen that way. But what you have to see is that the issue is the discipleship of the vessel.
Come on, this is it.
It's not the word itself. Because
really good.
The discipling of the individual will have fruit for years and decades to come. That one word may have affected a moment, but the vessel will affect generations.
And we never are truly being discipled if we always get what we want. Unless there's a difference of will and a need to submit.
Absolutely.
And this is what I've loved about my journey with you. You'll never do it just to, you're never doing it just to test. You're not doing it that way. But God is so masterful in you. And I crossed the line years ago. If I feel God's given me something, and because of the nature of it, I talk to you about it, and you said, I just think you should wait at the moment. I don't think, but hang on, God's spoken to me. I think, no. And sometimes people, this is where you land, you think, but I've got to obey God, so I'm going to give it. You're right, you do have to obey God, and he said submit to every authority. So the obedience is in the submission, not in giving a word.
That's it.
And we confuse these issues. I've actually landed on this place. If I do what you say because you're my spiritual oversight, because I know you're a godly man, even if I felt I should do something different, I actually can't lose. Because God honors me for submission.
And I'm responsible.
There you go.
And if I'm called...
Buck stops with you, mate.
If I called it wrong...
I'll just stand back so the she-bears get you, not me.
You got it. God will take it out of my hide, all right? So, I mean, there's a whole word submission.
Yeah.
It's become a silly little nothingness. The fact of the matter is, there is no issue of submission unless there's a difference.
Great.
If someone says, I love red, and the other person says, you know what, that's my favorite color too. And that's an agreement.
Yep.
There is no test of submission unless there's a disagreement. So the whole process of discipleship, and apostolic leaders aren't some beyond that. I've been 50 odd years in leadership, and I'm still having to learn that from my father, because he'll speak to me and I'll get it clear as a bell, and then I'll get a head of steam, and then he'll break into it and put me on hold for about 3 weeks just to see if I'm still listening. The whole process is, are we listening and are we being discipled?
So don't make it about your word and your delivery and your timing and you've just got to do it now. Make it actually about God's gift of discipleship that actually comes at times when you want to do something and those in authority over you who love you and love God actually say no. Just know that God is doing something deep and wonderful, which will actually make you a more spirit-led, gracious minister of the gospel. So pray that blesses you.